Test, test.
Welcome to this regular meeting of the Clear Lake City Council at Clear Lake City Council Chambers at 14050 Olympic Drive, Clear Lake, California. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6 p.m. on November 20th, 2025. May we have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Wilson,
Present.
Councilmember Hooton,
Here.
Councilmember Downey,
Here.
Vice Mayor Sluten,
Here.
Mayor Kramer.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mary, would you like to lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You'll all remain standing. We'll have the invocation. Pastor Gravison, welcome.
It's good to be here. It's good to see everybody. I often pray for you in my office, so it's nice to get together with you and do it once.
We can use the prayers. Thank you.
Let's pray. Our Heavenly Father, as we come into the season when we celebrate the arrival of the Savior of the world in the form of a child in poverty, we're reminded of the love for humanity that brought him here. We ask your continued blessing upon the city of Clear Lake, and we seek your wisdom to guide the city council as they go about the business of the city. Thank you for each of these people who have willingly taken up the mantle and the responsibility of public service. Show the people of this city how we can best support and encourage them as they go forward. We also take time, Lord, to remember the recent passing of Chris Becknell, the former finance director of Clear Lake. We thank you for his time of service. We thank you for his contributions to our city. We also ask, Lord, that you be with his wife, Donna, and the rest of his family at this time. May they all feel your presence and your comfort in their grief. Finally, as we gather with family and friends for the Thanksgiving holiday, may our hearts be ever grateful for all the blessings you so richly provide. And we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Hey, sit down. Okay, now I'll go over the meeting procedures. All items on the agenda will be open for public comment before final action is taken. Citizens wishing to introduce written material into the record at the public meeting on any item are requested to provide a copy of the written material to the Administrative Service Director, City Clerk, prior to the meeting date so that the material may be distributed to City Council prior to the meeting. Speakers must restrict comments to the item as it appears on the agenda and stay within a 3-minute time limit. Mayor has the discretion of limiting the total discussion time for an item. Council cannot answer questions or provide comment while a citizen is giving public comment. Once your comments are complete, the mayor may refer you to staff for follow-up. And if you're on the Zoom meeting, please note that only written comments will be taken via Zoom using the Q&A chat feature. Please enter your comments on the Q&A chat. Our first item will be adoption of the agenda. City Manager Flora, are there any modifications to the agenda?
No modifications, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. May I have a
I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
motion? Go ahead.
I'll second it.
Motion has been made by Vice Mayor Slaughton and seconded by Council Member Hooton. Please vote in your portal.
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
Thank you. All right, we'll now move on to presentations. The first presentation will be of November adoptable dogs.
Mr. Mayor, Council. The intake to date for the year at the shelter is 346 dogs. 318 have left the shelter, 47 rescue, 230 returned to owner, 38 adopted, and 3 euthanized, with a 98.84 release rate. Current shelter count is 65 adult dogs, 9 puppies, for a total of 74. There's been 85 microchips, 192 vaccinations from a clinic, 235 vaccinations, 84 neuters, and 91 spays.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Captain, are there any comments, any questions? Okay, thank you again. All right, the next thing we'll move on to a presentation and proclamation declaring November 2025 as Alzheimer's Disease Awareness Month. Vice Mayor Slotin would like to do this presentation.
This presentation is dear to my heart as my wife has been diagnosed with dementia. So Alzheimer's Disease Awareness Month, November 2025. Whereas too many people know the pain of losing a loved one to Alzheimer's disease, the leading cause of death in older adults. And whereas during National Alzheimer's Disease Awareness Month, we honor the courage and the resilience of all those facing this devastating disease. And whereas it is important to support every caregiver who pours their heart into helping people with Alzheimer's disease face this disease with dignity. And whereas currently over 6 million Americans have Alzheimer's disease, which robs people of their memories, clarity, and identity, taking a difficult emotional, financial, and physical toll on people facing disease and the loved ones standing by their side. And whereas Alzheimer's also disproportionately impacts African Americans and Latino Americans, who are more likely to develop dementia than people of any other race or ethnicity. And whereas during National Alzheimer's Disease Awareness Month, we recommit to improving prevention and treatment of Alzheimer's disease and honor all the lives that we have lost and all those we still can save. And whereas we uplift the spirit of hope that countless medical professionals, researchers, and caregivers working to help people with Alzheimer's disease carry each day. Now, therefore, it be proclaimed that the City Council of the City of Clear Lake does hereby designate the month of November as Alzheimer's Disease Awareness Month and urges all citizens to honor and support those living with Alzheimer's disease and the many people who continue extraordinary and tireless effort to combat this disorder and care for those affected by it. Dated 20th of November 2025. Thank you all.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Slotin. I know this was very close to you. Okay, we'll now move on to public comment. This is the time for a member of the public to address the City Council on any matter not on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. The Brown Act, with limited exceptions, does not allow the council or staff to discuss issues brought forth under public comment. Council cannot take action on non-agenda items. Concerns may be referred to staff or placed on a future agenda. Please note that comments from the public will also be taken on each agenda item. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person. The council cannot answer questions or provide comment while a citizen is giving their public comment. Once your comments are complete, the mayor may refer you to staff for follow-up. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to wishes to make a comment now? Yes, Mel. Please state your name and where you live.
I'm Charlene Witham from here in Clear Lake, and I was just wanting to let you know that Mark with the animal shelter, he is continuing to do the vaccinations and everything. And I guess they took 23 dogs out of a home in the last 2 days and got them transferred out. So just thought I'd let you know.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who has a comment? Are you speaking on this or an agenda item, or do you have two things to speak on?
This is not an agenda item.
Okay,
I'll
who are you?
I'll
Where
wear
do you
that out
live?
later. Uh, Jeff Davis, I'm with Highlands Water Company. I live in Clear Lake. I just had a couple of quick comments on two items. One is I want to thank the city council and or the subcommittee thereof that is allowing city manager Flora and myself to engage in, I'm not going to call it negotiations, but discussions about forming an MOU. And not to jump ahead of Alan but to prime the pump a little bit. My feelings on it are, it doesn't need to be a heck of a lot more than what is the one thing we want? What is the one thing the city wants? And we can add another MOU later. We can change it. We can do whatever we want. But I'm really looking forward to getting some little bit of groundwork on that MOU laid quickly. And I think Alan's nodding his head in agreement. Secondly, I had a phone call, and this is sort of more of a personal deal for me. I had a phone call yesterday afternoon from a member of the city staff. And please don't misinterpret this and think that I'm suggesting they're incapable. The people I spoke to were super smart, know what they're doing, did a great job. I've known them all for a very long time. The point is, they had an issue with the pipe, and we had a piece in stock right here that we could give to them to get it done before the lake level rose up and maybe prevent having to dive. And it has nothing to do with their not being capable of doing it. I just wanted to comment that it really kind of made me feel good and like it used to be. And I tie that in with the MOU thing because I think that's a step back towards that. And really that's all I have, other than, again, don't think I'm suggesting they aren't capable. They're all very capable. You have a water professional engineer basically on staff. They don't need me, but it was good. So really that's the only comment I have on that. We'll be beating up the hydrant thing later, I'm sure.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Davis. Appreciate it. Are there any other comments from the audience? Madam Clerk, are there comments on Zoom?
There are no comments on Zoom.
Thank you. We'll now move on to the consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature and will be approved by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the council requests otherwise, or a staff has requested a change under adoption of the agenda, in which case the item will be removed for separate consideration. Any item so removed will be taken up following the motion to approve the consent agenda. Mr. City Manager, do you have anything that you want to remove? Council members, you want to pull anything? All right, and I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion has been made by Council Member Downey
I second it.
and seconded by Council Member Wilson. Please vote in your portal.
Motion passes with unanimous vote from the council.
Okay, we'll now move on to business items. First, item number 8, update and discussion of the city's fire hydrant inspection, testing, and maintenance ordinance. Who'd like to make that presentation?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, council members, I'll give a very brief introduction to Mr. Roscoe, but Just as a reminder, it's in the staff report, of course, but it was essentially a year ago, the city adopted a new ordinance requiring inspection, testing, and maintenance related to fire hydrants within the city of Clear Lake. And Mr. Roscoe will go over some of the basics of the ordinance, but the update tonight is related to in I believe it was March of this year. Canoctay County Water District came to us and asked if there was a way to do a pilot project because there were concerns about requirements in the ordinance having an expensive professional do the testing of all the hydrants, and they felt like that they could do it themselves. So we had an item with the council. The council agreed to let that pilot process play out, and then we would come back with some potential recommendations to changing the ordinance. So Mr. Roscoe and I met with Canoctay County Water. And in fact, Mr. Davis from Highlands Water didn't initially approach us, but came forward and wanted to participate as well. And so we scheduled that. So Mr. Roscoe is going to give kind of an update of that testing, issues with that. And then I'll circle back at the end. We do have an attachment in here which has some potential changes to the ordinance. I do want to underline that we're not asking the council to take action on those tonight, but this is an early look at it. And we're still expecting to have some comments from each of the water districts related to those red lines. And then if you have any concerns or whatever, we'll bring those back at a future date. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Roscoe, and I will put his slides up here on the screen.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here, Mr. Mayor, Mr. City Manager, and council members. I think it was a good introduction. This has been an issue the city's been dealing with for a while. The fire flows in the city are certainly a matter of public health and safety, and certainly tie closely with the city's obligation to do land use planning and what growth can occur where and what redevelopment can occur where. So there was an ordinance adopted a year ago, as mentioned. I'm just going to give an update on that. The principal components, I think, are also laid out in the staff report. We cited the National Fire Protection Association for standards. They have a standard number 291 that talks very specifically about maintenance and flow testing and marking of hydrants. And so the ordinance follows those as guidelines. It requires annual maintenance of all hydrants, flow testing hydrants every 5 years, painting the hydrants according to expected fire flow rates. And then the ordinance requires submission of that data to the city and to the fire district. The deadline originally was to get all of them done because the understanding was it hadn't been done for a long time by July 1 and then annually thereafter. And the ordinance required testing to be performed by qualified individuals, and NFPA standard 291 had a listing of professions that would be considered qualified. The purveyors serving the city, all three of them expressed concerns with that. Largely, it was focused on the flow testing requirement, not necessarily the hydrant maintenance requirement. And the major concern we heard were the costs associated with testing all of these hydrants, all of the hydrants within those 7 or 8 months that was allowed before the July 1 deadline in the ordinance. When you are flow testing a hydrant, you're stirring up the line. And so there's potential for customer complaints. There's concerns for the quantities of water released, particularly in a drought situation when the water purveyors are asking customers to not waste water and use water wisely. And then the water purveyors out there sending thousands of gallons of water down the storm drain system. The investor-owned utility that serves a portion of the city saying we don't think the ordinance applies to us because we're regulated by the Public Utilities Commission. There were some concerns for how the flow test might be used. Is like, if we have a hydrant that is underperforming, are we going to be made to look bad with that? Are you going to use this to try to influence where we do our projects? We do our own planning for our capital projects. The city doesn't do that for us. And the other comment we heard back largely from the investor-owned utilities, hey, we've got this computer model that does all these estimates for us. It's calibrated. We use it when we are doing development in our area. We can very accurately estimate what a hydrant is expected to flow. We keep it calibrated with doing some flow tests. That's how you calibrate that computer model. And so we shouldn't have to test all these hydrants all the time. We'll test a select number to make sure our model is well calibrated, and we're going to use our model. So those are the concerns we had. I'm going to not spend time here. There's some discussion on good practice in conducting fire flow tests. And one of the main things to keep in mind is when you're testing the hydrant, you want to flow enough water so you're dropping the system pressure significantly over what it is without the hydrant running. The hydrants are all rated at a residual pressure of 20 pounds per square inch. And so the closer you can pull system pressure down to 20 PSI, the less extrapolation you have to make when you're rating the hydrant at 20 PSI. So if you only drop the pressure a little bit, you're doing this long extrapolation, and that is not considered accurate. Basically, your good practice is a minimum drop of 25%. And then if you get less than 10%, it's not considered an accurate test. We did do a pilot study, and so I got a couple pictures here of this happening. This particular hydrant is in Highlands System. It's the first one we did. It's in the old airport area near the animal shelter and the old public works shop. It's out in a field. We weren't as worried about a runoff situation here because it was dry and a beautiful sunny day. And so things were soaking into the ground. Normally, the runoff from a chlorinated distribution system has to be dechlorinated before it's released to storm drains. So here, there's no release to the storm drain. This water ponds and then soaks into the ground. And as long as that's documented, there's no issue with discharge requirements. So the next one we did was in a residential area. Same equipment was used. And you can see the quantity of water flowing. Downstream of this, the water purveyor had an assemblage of sodium thiosulfite tablets. So the water had to flow through and across those tablets before it entered the storm drain. Chlorine residual test kit on site, make sure that the water getting in the storm drain didn't have chlorine in it. Chlorine is really bad for aquatic species. And so the normal requirement is you make sure you've dechlorinated this flow before it gets into the storm drain. The next one we did was in the Konocti County Water District system. This is different equipment. That's why it looks a little different. But all the equipment used is considered industry standard. Frankly, the equipment that Highlands brought to the flow testing, I'd never seen before. It's new technology. It's Bluetooth technology. It's kind of on a black box. It does the pressure measurements. It does the flow calculations. It does the extrapolations to 20 PSI, and it reports the result Bluetooth to their handheld little device. You still, anytime you're using field equipment, you have to calibrate the field equipment. You know, if you got a chlorine test kit, you got to compare it against a standard every once in a while to make sure it's on. So there's still an issue on what is the calibration frequency on that. And, but I'm confident that the manufacturer provides that, and, you know, pretty slick little system. This is a downstream look of that same Konocti County Water District hydrant that was flowing. And you can see issues in the street with street flooding, with turbid water. You can see near the mailbox, there's a cone and there's a silt sack out there trying to protect the discharge from where it might end up and get into the ditch. But you can see traffic control needed, and a guy with a sign downstream to make sure that we keep the site safe for traffic coming through. But flowing hydrants in neighborhoods is not free labor. I mean, this is labor intensive operation. You're sending a lot of water out of the system. There's, you know, potential damage and flooding issues with private property. And I think a lot was learned with the flow testing pilot test we did. And so talk a little bit about what lessons we learned. You got to have the equipment to do it right, and the equipment depends on the application you're using, and the equipment does need to be calibrated. I'm skipping from the first to the last bullet. So when the water comes out of the system, a public water supply system is required to maintain a disinfectant residual in the water supply to the far distal ends of the system. That's excellent for public health. It's horrible for fish. And so when you release this water from the system, it has to be dechlorinated, and you got to keep records of that because the discharge permits from the Regional Water Quality Control Board will require reporting these discharges and documenting that you've dealt with the chlorine residual. Best management practices also have to be employed for erosion control and discharge of sediments in the street. This is key for the city because the city operates a storm drain system, and you have your own discharge permit from the regional board on discharges from that. So you have to make sure that what is coming into your storm drain system doesn't cause you to violate what goes out of your storm drain system. So employing best management practices is the general state of the art on that. There are issues with traffic control and flooding issues. There's a ton of data to collect. I mentioned dropping the water system pressure. We did have some issues with that. Did we drop it sufficiently to make an accurate result? And I think a lot was learned by the operators of the distribution systems on how to do this. And I'm confident, and as they do a lot more of these, it's going to become much more efficient. The other thing that was notable to my mind is it was clear to me that the licensed distribution system operators easily know the systems and properly trained. They should be able to conduct these flow tests. That will make a big difference to the purveyors in your system on cost containment, not having to hire outside professionals. Be my recommendation that a portion of those be reviewed by a civil engineer or another professional just to confirm that things are going well. And so, but I think it was clear to me that the distribution crews that were out in the field were knowledgeable on what was going on and how to do it and taking the data down correctly. And so that was good to see. Again, I mentioned fuel calibration of systems. And then you got to calculate fire flow. Don't pay attention to the top equation. That's what, if you got a calculator, you can plug in data and make it use, but I don't know anybody does it that way. There are published tables you can just look up. You know, here's my pressure drop and here's the diameters and that's what the flow should be. There are charts that allow graphical solutions where here's my static pressure, here's my dynamic pressure, and I'm extending that out to 20 PSI. That's the flow at 20 PSI. There are websites. Hose Monster happens to be a company that does a lot of, they sell a lot of products for fire flow testing, and they have an online calculator. So you can go to theirs, plug in your static, your residual pressure, the flow you got from the pitot pressures, and it cranks out. It doesn't only tell you what your flow at 20 is, it tells you whether you had a sufficient pressure drop to be an accurate test, and it recommends the color to paint the hydrant. It's kind of all in one. New test equipment with the Bluetooth technology, as we saw Highlands used, was new to me, but it seemed pretty slick out in the field. I'm not sure how it gets calibrated, but I've never used that equipment before, and I'm sure the manufacturer has some recommendations on how that stays in tune. It's kind of a black box thing. So you don't really know what's going on inside. You don't really know if the pressure sensors inside are still on or not. So I would just recommend, if that kind of a black box technology is used, that for every number of tests, there's some other field check to say, yeah, that was on and it's still working well. I'm going to get into the computer hydraulic models. Computer models are pretty much used water systems all over there. Small, medium, large, certainly large systems, medium systems. There's still a number of small water systems that don't have computer models, but they are extraordinarily helpful in not just calculating fire flows, but estimating water quality. It can tell you water age if you got a water age problem with treatment of Clear Lake water, water age is an important deal because of disinfection byproducts. The older the water is, the longer they're in contact with chlorine, the higher the risk of getting close to maximum contaminant levels on disinfectant byproducts. Yeah, they let you do water system planning, optimize pipe replacements. How big should the pipe be? You got to get good data. Models are only as good as the data that goes in, right? Garbage in is garbage out. So the data that goes into the models is really important. And that's where fire flow testing confirms the validity of your model. Fire flow test data is used to calibrate the model. So having a model doesn't obviate the need for doing some fire flow testing, because that's what's used to prove your models is working well. You put in demand information, you put in supply information, and the model computes friction factors and flows in a pipe. It bases on conservation of mass and conservation of energy in the piping system. And they're off the shelf, they're easy to learn. And if good data is used to go in, you can get them calibrated and you get good data out. I think the point here is, even if you have a well-calibrated distribution model, there is still a need for some frequency of fire flow testing to keep that model calibrated and to prove that it still is giving you the accurate results that it is. So the next slide talks about painting the hydrants. I can tell you that the NFPA standard says that fire hydrants should be painted to reflect the flow information. And I think this is the next one. With higher flow hydrants painted blue, green, orange, and the lower flow ones painted red. Some people paint the whole hydrant. The NFPA standard talks about kind of the left column here where the hydrant remains a chrome yellow color for ease of visibility, but then the bonnet and the outlets are painted according to anticipated flow. A lot of water purveyors will paint the whole hydrant. A lot of water purveyors just leave them yellow. And fire departments have another thing a computer model does is you can do basically a contour map of your system that shows fire flows. Fire departments love those. When they're responding to something, they can have that on their GPS system and know, hey, this fire hydrant is here, but we got to go grab another hydrant. This one's better. It might be 100 feet further away, but we're going to get more water out of that one. So we're going to go grab that one as our second hydrant to fight this fire. So all that is really good information for emergency response and public health and safety. So I just want to note this. There are a lot of districts where the fire district says, yeah, no, we don't want that. A lot of districts, I mean, this is a prime example of a freshly painted hydrant. If you go to water systems around the state of California, you're going to see a lot of hydrants that need paint badly. A lot of hydrants are not color coded like this. I'm just saying this is what is in the NFPA standard for what should be. So we had a recent meeting with all three of the water purveyors serving the city just on November 12th. And happy to report, I think there's been progress made by all three water purveyors toward this. Clearly, the July 1 deadline to have all data was not met by any of the three. And there still are issues with two of the three getting data. The public agency, Conocti County, has been turning over data. There's been some data submitted by Highlands, but good news is Highlands is reporting they're essentially done with all of the hydrant maintenance and flow testing. I think they said they may have a one or a very small handful of tests yet to do. And they've got significant progress toward painting the hydrants. I think if you're around town in their service area, you might have seen some different colored painted hydrants. They're waiting for their board of Highlands Mutual Water Company to authorize release of the data to the city and to the fire district as the ordinance would prescribe. They report that there was a hydraulic model of the system, but it hasn't been updated for a while, and it may not necessarily represent current conditions, but you know, having a beginning of a model and having some data entered on pipe sizes and lengths and diameters and materials, it goes a long ways toward getting that model updated. If the model is more than 8 or 10 years old, there's probably improved software packages that are available to run that. But if your model was set up on a GIS system, most of that data imports fairly automatically from model to model. Canocti County Water District has done some flow testing. I looked at my notes of the meeting, and it's about 25%. They said they've got 108 hydrants and they've got 25 or 26 of them already tested. So there's been progress made. The low flow discharge permit, or excuse me, low threat discharge permit from the regional board, they're pursuing. I'm not sure we heard that it is in hand yet. They did report they have no hydraulic model, and they've got a lot in their service area. There still are a lot of unpaved streets and gravel roads, and there's some significant issues with potential flooding and damage to private property in some locations. So they're just the nature of the neighborhoods that they serve might be a little different as far as doing this. It may need different equipment, may have to connect a hose instead of just a diffuser at the hydrant and spraying water. It may take a hose situation, do a different nozzle to help the flooding situations. Doesn't mean it can't be done, it means it might be more involved to make sure it's done safely. Golden State Water says that they rely on their computer model. And that's how they deal with developers who are trying to connect and get connections to their system, where they have to report fire flows. And they've offered to demonstrate their model for the city. And in fact, I've been exchanging emails in the last couple of days with their area manager in Rancho Cordova, who is ultimately in charge of running this system. And we're setting dates. He set out some dates, and I accepted one of them, and their modeler just turned in vacation requests. It always happens when you're trying to schedule meetings. But we're gonna have a demonstration of their model. Again, I emphasize having a model is a wonderful thing. Lets you do lots with the system, but you still need to do some fire flow testing to ensure your model is working right. And then at that meeting, City Manager Flores shared a draft of the city ordinance changes with the purveyors, and to my knowledge, we haven't gotten comments back. And I think that's current status of things right now. I'd like to turn this back over to Mr. Flora, and he can finish.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Mr. Roscoe. So a good overview of what's happened over the last several months. I have heard that from both Mr. Davis and Mr. Twill with Golden State Water that they will be submitting some comments on the ordinance. So expecting those at some point. Maybe, I don't know if you want me to talk briefly about the red line thing, or you want to take public comment first, or? Okay. Before we do that, if I could, I just want to reinforce what Mr. Roscoe said. Couldn't be happier with the work that Mr. Davis has done and his crew to get all the hydrant testing done. They have great technology. He's been really helpful in keeping me updated on what they're doing, and it's just impressive that they've really leaned into this and done a great job. So.
Enough. Public comments? Come on up, Mr. Davis. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Oh.
When it's green, it's on.
Okay. Most of what Robin and Ellen were describing is accurate, and I appreciate the praise and the compliments. I think that Highlands crew has done a great job in testing all the hydrants, and I do like the technology. It's wow, it's pretty hard to fake it. So that being said, we've spent probably $10,000 on equipment and training. Probably dumped about 500,000 gallons of water in testing. and probably 500 to 600 man hours estimated. We're not done painting the caps yet. And as I forget, maybe it was Rob who pointed out that you'll see them starting to change colors. We haven't got them all done yet. The only minor issue we're up against right now is, and I think, unless I'm misreading what's happening, I think that the council and Alan and Rob are talking about potential amendments to the ordinance. I think that's right. Correct? Good. I know it's not interactive. This is a public comment, but, yeah, that will be great because all of the effort we've put in and all of our diligence to attempt to comply, we're still out of compliance with the ordinance as written. It doesn't afford us doing that. Even though I feel as though when we met with the engineer Rob, and I think you might have swung by, Alan, and Lowell and John, did the majority of the testing there, and they're exceptional. So even though that process was overseen a little bit, we're still not compliant. And Alan and I have exchanged a few, city manager Floor and I have exchanged a few red lines back and forth, I think. And the one that I think was tentatively put together for today, there was a little typo or something where it wouldn't allow for D2s to test. And it was D3, a little, whatever, a little typo, fine. Us submitting the data that we have binders, we have it electronically, we have whatever. I had authorization from my board to distribute it today or first thing tomorrow morning, and we'd all be happy. Without any confidence that the ordinance, I keep wanting to say policy, but that the ordinance allows us to do that, it's really rather academic. Without some concession in that ordinance that says we're capable, I felt as though Rob's oversight of our testing was sufficient. And I really hope that the city council gives serious consideration to his opinion, our equipment, and our efforts, and makes some concession in this ordinance to allow our data to be submitted with confidence, so that we can move down the road and make an MOU. So,
In that regard, I think we are just going to be giving direction to staff tonight rather than make a decision on the ordinance.
excellent. Thank you. And I appreciate your time and your consideration of a minor adjustment to that ordinance, because I would put my D2s up against anybody's D4s. And on a slight minor side note, if you look at the range of knowledge expected from the water boards on the D1 to D5 tests, flow testing hydrants and stuff is inclusive from 1 to 5. You're not any better knowledgeable at doing it if you were a 3 than a 2. And I think maybe that's information that you guys could use to help have confidence in presenting that potential change to your council. And that's all I have, unless there's any questions.
Okay, there's a question from Vice Mayor Slotin.
I'm happy. As I always wanted to just make sure that we have accurate data. So
Absolutely.
we're getting there. So that's right. I'm elated. Thank you for doing that. Also, just a side question. Did you see anything in your modeling and all that that you say, oh, I had no idea that area was good or that area was bad?
I think as a whole,
Uh-huh.
I don't know how much time we have here, but as a whole, I feel as though our system overperformed my expectations. The great majority of the Fillmore zone is blue. We've got a lot of great areas. Our model needs this information plugged back into it for a recalibration. Some areas were underperforming, a lot are overperforming. So again, to Rob's point, models are only as good as the information you put into them. I think it's a good exercise. We have found valves off. We have, and again, my staff has done an exceptional job at finding these. And and restoring what should have been in some areas. So I'm really pleased with the process. I think the data we submit, once we are comfortable in doing so, that it meets the ordinance's requirements, I think will please the council and or anybody looking for potential development. I think it's pretty good data.
Excellent. Thank you.
But hopefully that answered your question.
It does. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Davis, I just want to comment, I've enjoyed our conversations. I think you've been open and very helpful in wanting to work with Mr. Flora one-on-one to get some of these things decided before they ever get to the full council. So we have a little bit easier direction to make our decision making on that. So I appreciate your cooperation.
Well, thank you. It's all, like I've said before at our little meetings, it really all is in the best interest of the community who we all serve. And that's just sort of my angle on it. It's really not personal to me. Well, not a personal fight with Alan, although he likes that. Anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Is there any other public comment? Is there any comment on Zoom?
There are no comments on Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
We'll bring this back to council for questions, comments.
Can I make a couple comments maybe before you do, unless you have a media one about this? I just wanted to kind of go over the red lines a little bit. Mr. Davis did point out that the one section required a D3 license instead of a D2. And this was my bad in uploading this version. I had initially put D3 in there thinking it was appropriate. And after talking with Mr. Roscoe, he let me know that D2 should be fine. So we would recommend making that change. But, so if you look at, let's see, what is it? Page 4. Yeah, page 4 has most of the red lines. Basically, this is the section that says flow testing needs to be completed by fire protection contractor, civil engineer, etc. There's a couple of the plumbing contractor and pipeline contractor that in our discussions, we agreed that for whatever reason, they were in the NFPA standard. It didn't really make a lot of sense, so we would just delete them. And then the red lines allow two other alternatives for the testing to be acceptable. One is employee of the water company with a D2 certification, that they're trained and knowledgeable in NFPA 291, and then that they're reviewed by an official with the credentials to determine the test's validity, which obviously is envisioning someone like Mr. Roscoe. Mr. Davis had indicated that he may have some ideas on kind of defining that a little bit further, which we'll look at when we see that. So the third option is why we talked so much tonight about water modeling. So if the water purveyor has a calibrated water model, they can then utilize that and do what we're proposing in here is essentially half as much of the testing each year. So only 10% of the hydrants in each zone of the system would work, and then they would share the data from those tests and keep the model updated. So it would be some incentive for them having a model. So Golden State says they have a model, as Mr. Davis mentioned. Highlands has a model, it just needs to have this new data in it. And Canoctay County Water District does not currently have a model, so they wouldn't be eligible to do this. However, we do have some grant funding that we've asked the state to change our project description on a little bit, which we're hopeful we would be able to use to get a model for Canoctay and hopefully get the other two models and create a citywide model that would allow us to look more broadly at planning and development efforts citywide. So those are the main things I wanted to point out with the changes. Again, if you have any thoughts on this, you can share now, you can share in the interim. Our hope would be that if you are comfortable with the direction this is going, that perhaps at the next meeting, we could actually have a first reading of these changes to the ordinance and get it cleaned up.
Okay, just to clarify on the one thing, the D3, were you looking then at changing that to D2 or?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay. Are there any questions, any comments?
The only comment is, I'm happy that, Alan and Jeff can work this out. I'm sure that whatever they come up with, we can support.
Well, that's high praise coming from you, Vice Mayor Spelden. So I think we're on the right track. Consensus? Everyone else feel like we're on the right track? Go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel that, getting whatever feedback, Jeff would like to give, Mr. Flora and let them work on it. I think what we received on Tuesday, the blue line had D2 in it, so, I think that's a little bit more accurate and, I think we're almost there, so I'd be open to first reading at our next meeting.
Councilmember Wilson?
I would like it first reading next time as well.
Councilmember Downey?
Yeah, I'm same boat. I also want to appreciate the relationship that's developing and growing between the water companies and the city. So it's good to see.
Thank you, Councilmember Downey, and I think we've gotten your comments already, Vice Mayor. And I feel the same way. I think our Tuesday meetings once a month have been very helpful, and I think have built some trust in each other, if you will. So
Just for the council's benefit, one thing I should say real quick. Mr. Costner from Conoctay County Water District, don't take his absence as not being interested. He's on vacation or right now, so he told us he couldn't make it. And Mr. Twilla from Golden State, he called me this morning and let me know that he's working on some red lines. He'll be giving it to me maybe tomorrow, but everyone is continuing to stay engaged.
perfect. Say the consensus is to move forward and try to have something for a first reading next meeting. All right, we'll move on to item 9, discussion and consideration of rescinding the city's delegation of authority to Lake County Board of Supervisors to serve as the governing board of the Lake County Sanitation District. Mr. Flora?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, council members. So I'll give an overview of what's in the staff report. Again, the city doesn't control any utilities. This is really a result of most of Clear Lake being developed before the city actually was incorporated. And so these utilities were needed in order to support development before that time. The sewer district is a dependent district of the county. So the Lake County Board of Supervisors sit as a board of directors of the Lake County Sanitation District. There is a provision in the Health and Safety Code that when the city of Clear Lake was incorporated, there should have been a process that allowed the city to have representation on the board of the sanitation district. That did not happen initially. At some point, the city became aware of that and adopted a resolution in 1983, which is attached in your packet, saying that the city delegated the responsibility for governance of the sanitation district to the Board of Supervisors. So basically saying, we understand that we could be involved, but we're going to relinquish that to you. There is also a clause saying that the city reserved its right to withdraw this designation. So in 2024, in April, the city council had a discussion about many of the concerns around the sewer system in Clear Lake and kind of a lack of response related to it, and had been aware of this governance issue for some time, and decided to adopt a new resolution to send to the county, basically, raising our awareness of the issue and asking the county to have a discussion with the city about this issue. There's been a number of, there were some informal discussions before the resolution happened, after the resolution was adopted. It wasn't actually until February of 2025 that the Board of Supervisors brought this item up and had a discussion about it. I know I've reported this before, but the board at the time actually voted 3-2 to have a discussion about this with the city. And the county administrative office asked to delay any meeting till at least July of this year. And, you know, here we are, the year's almost up and there has been no meeting. So I've personally raised the issue probably at least a dozen times in emails, personal correspondence, so forth. And in fact, actually sent a meeting appointment to a number of folks at the county, and we still haven't had a meeting. And so in some internal discussions about what can be done to get some attention on this, and working with our city attorney, there is a new resolution that's before you tonight that essentially outlines some of the issues, the background, and then would take action to rescind the resolution that happened in 1983, which in our opinion would essentially force the county to consider this issue, because we are clawing back our rights to be involved in the governance of Lake County Special Districts. And I don't know how far we want to go down into this, but presumably after this action, it's questionable if any actions by the existing board of directors of the sanitation district would be valid. So with that, I'll try to address any questions unless city attorney Drexel wants to add anything.
I think that's an accurate summation. That's an accurate summary. The city had the opportunity, there's a provision in the health and safety code where if a sanitation district includes a city, the city may designate the board, the 5-person board, as the sanitation district board. But actually even that law doesn't really apply anymore, because it says that's only the case if the city is less than half of the population of the sanitation district. So I think this is what most likely will happen is there'll be a 3-person board, and we're going to have to figure out the population, various population levels. If the city is more than half of the population of the district, the sanitation district, then we get 2 seats. If it's less, then they get 2 seats. So that's what I'm anticipating. I mean, we'll have to wait for their response to see what the county's response is, but.
So just to ask a question, so a 3-person board just for the southeast sanitation district?
Well, there's a lot of variables. I don't think that we should really get into all those tonight. I mean, there are some questions that we need to discuss related to that. I mean, the sanitation district does provide sewer service to other areas of the county. Some of those, I think, operate outside of the sanitation district, perhaps as a separate entity. Our goal still would be to sit down with the county and their representatives and have a discussion about how this can work out. And that's kind of outlined in the resolution on some ideas about, but there needs to be some work done on determining how the population breakdown is and all that. But we believe that we have over 50% of the population of the sanitation district in the city.
I would certainly agree with that. Any questions?
Yep.
Vice Mayor Slotin?
Did the county, is there any documentation that the county acknowledged the 1983 resolution in their records?
I'm not aware of anything.
Just kind of curious. Is that something that we can find out?
Well, I think they're aware that we delegated the authority, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, I'm just seeing if there's anything
Yeah.
in writing and that.
Yeah,
Safe.
I believe the resolution was conveyed to them.
I mean, I know from some folks that worked at the county at the time when the city was incorporated, the county was aware of this issue during the incorporation process, but did not raise it. But at some point over, you know, a few years after that, the city did find out and obviously decided to delegate.
Because I saw the two names on the resolution that are still around, Tom Hewlett and Ed Ruby.
That was in 1983, I believe.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions? Councilmember Wilson, you have a question? No. We'll open this to public comment. Anybody from the public that would like to make a comment on this item? I knew it. Supervisor Sabatier.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Bruno Sabatier, District 2 Supervisor. Probably should get up and speak on this since you're kind of talking about me in this sense. I have fought tooth and nail to make sure that we have this conversation and have failed to make this conversation happen. It takes more than just me to figure out how to make this happen. Some of the time that was wasted in the first place was due to nothing was going to change to bring the conversation to the board earlier than February. So in February, things had changed based on elections. And so didn't even realize it was going to sneak through with the 3-2. I thought having discussions with your colleagues and partners would be an easy 5-0. So that was already catching me off guard. The fact that we haven't had this conversation, I don't think we need to hide it. There's been other issues that have been borne out from special districts that the city of Clear Lake has needed to resolve. And we are still not done with those resolutions between special districts and the city of Clear Lake. And this item has been placed on hold due to other issues that if we can't figure out how to deal with the simpler issues, this is not a simple issue in the sense. I'd love to see how this changes things with this new resolution. I will do my part as usual to make sure that there is awareness that this resolution has passed. I know that the administration is well aware of tonight's meeting and what is happening. And I hope that we can find a way to continue moving forward, because right now, not having a discussion is a detriment to the community members here and a detriment to the relationship between the county and the city. And so hopefully things will change.
I appreciate your comments. Thank you. Are there any other comments from the public? Are there any comments on Zoom?
There are no comments on Zoom.
Okay. Bring this back to council for deliberation and action. Anybody want to
Otherwise, I'll make a motion.
make the motion?
I move that we approve resolution number 2025-42, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Clear Lake rescinding the delegation of authority to the Lake County Board of Supervisors to serve as the governing board of the Lake County Sanitation District and asserting the city's statutory right to direct representation on the board of directors.
There's been a motion made by Vice Mayor Slotin,
I'll second it.
seconded by Council Member Hooten. Please vote in your portal.
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
Is that direction enough, Supervisor? All right, we'll move on to our next item 10. Discussion and consideration of award of contract for the Burns Valley / Arrowhead / Olympic Drive project. Mr. City Manager.
Director Lay will provide the initial staff report.
Thank you. Good evening. Tonight, the City Council is being asked to approve a contract for the Burns Valley Arrowhead Olympic Drive project and authorize the city manager to approve up to 10% for additional unforeseen contract amendments. The city solicited proposals for Burns Valley, Arrowhead, and Olympic Drive. There were several proposals received from contractors, with Lehman Construction being the lowest responsible bidder at $3,198,680.33.
Thank you for just a second. Thank you for coming, Mr. Roscoe.
Okay, so, Director Leba went over the details of that. This was on the agenda last week. We didn't have, final notice to proceed from the state on, this project, but we do have that now. So, we'd like the council to take action on this. As you know, I'm sure we received another letter from the Coin Nation earlier today about this. So I wanted to just provide some, kind of the same clarification as last time, but, um, it's a little exhausting to have this, what feels like, an attempt to derail all significant projects in the city, but, and I again believe that the letter you received today is full of misdirection, a number of inaccuracies, but, if I can try to explain, so the environmental review for the project has been completed and approved. Um, the initially approved project had a larger scope than this specific construction contract. There, in the environmental review, there was some drainage work. In fact, some drainage work will be done, but it's not part of this contract. This contract is only a simple repaving of existing streets and has no chance of impacting any tribal resources. The plans have been through the public bidding process and have been publicly available for months, that show the scope of this project, which is only repaving. I checked myself this afternoon. They're still publicly available on our website for review. I don't believe that we've done a single thing incorrectly. I believe we've followed state and federal law. And I trust that the council will value utilizing $3 million of grant funds to fix over 2 miles of streets in our community.
Thank you, Mr. Flora. Any questions? Vice Mayor?
I just have a question for the Public Works Director. What was the engineer's estimate on it?
I'm not sure how to look in my records for it.
Do you have those records, Mr. Flora? Looks like.
I don't, I was thinking, often we put in the staff report, it doesn't look like it's in here. My recollection was that it was,
It seemed like it-
slightly above the low bid.
Yeah,
but
that's what my
Yeah, it was
recollection.
high, it was definitely higher.
Okay. It would be helpful, man, to kind of refresh me.
I'm sure Director Leba can send you an email with that number.
Thank you.
Councilmember Newton, do you have any comments or questions, rather? Councilmember Wilson, any questions?
No.
Councilmember Downey, any questions?
I do. I just wanted to make sure we clarify that in this staff report that the changes of the drainage and all that stuff has been taken out of this plan. So that is, this report is reflecting that, correct?
That's correct. This project has no drainage improvements in it. It is only grinding and repaving of existing asphalt, and no part of the project will impede beyond the existing road base.
Okay, that answer your question?
One other question. So if any digging or say, for instance, like we can't do this project unless we repair this, will we make sure we consult with the Koi Nation if there is any digging?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how we would anticipate that there, I can't anticipate that there would be any digging, but, I would just say that if, some emergency happened and some digging was required, we would follow our obligations under state and federal law.
Do you have something to add to that, Public Works Director Leba?
I was just thinking, we don't anticipate any excavation unless there was a utility hit, but we would follow the law at that time. It's only a grinded pave.
Okay, so the project is grind and.
Yeah, I mean, unless there's a water main that happens to be within 4 or 5 inches of the surface, we're not likely to run into that problem.
Okay. I don't think any of that's in your area, is it? Really? Yeah, a little is, huh? I'm being a bit facetious there. Councilmember Wilson, you look like you were thinking.
I am thinking, I am on the same train of thought as Councilmember Downey, and I want to make sure that we're clear. Well, I would like if there's anything that's different than what was said here tonight, that we stop and we consult the Coin Nation.
Well, I mean, I can address part of that. I mean, so we don't have an obligation to consult the Koi Nation or any other tribe for any shovel that goes into the ground. There are specific outlines for that in state law. So, my point is that, I mean, so in the instance that there's an emergency water leak, there's no consultation with Native American tribes. The utilities don't consult. It's considered maintenance work, and they are allowed to go dig the area out and fix the existing water line that was there. Now, if we were to, start paving and decided that we wanted to realign part of the roadway, which was part of our original intention, because there's some areas of that road that really do need to be realigned. But because of the need to use the funding by a certain timeline and how that would extend potential, expected delays if we did go through a consultation process, we elected not to do any expansion of the project. And so it's only repaving of asphalt that's already there. So the potential for what you're concerned about, which I can appreciate, is very minuscule. And, I can assure you that we're not going to do anything that violates state and federal law. This is a federally funded project, so not only did it require a CEQA review, it also required NEPA review. All of this was reviewed by the State Housing and Community Development under HUD guidelines, and they have completely signed off on the environmental document, the plans, and the entire process. And if we do anything that isn't consistent with those plans, I can assure you they're going to hold us accountable.
That's your question.
It might be, I mean, I wish there was kind of a little, because I took a video of when they repaved, or my street, so to speak, where they did the grinding next to, and how they did it. That might give some visual of what really occurs when you grind and repave. It's if you use the same process that you did before with cement treated base, I mean, it's actually sometimes less than the existing structural section of pavement. Am I correct, Patty?
I'm not 100% sure the specs on all of these sections, but essentially you have road base, which, gravel put in and compacted, the asphalt then goes on. I don't believe in any case even getting into that section. It's like you have 6 inches of asphalt there, whatever it is, you're grinding out 5 of them and you're filling it back up. Is a good way to think about how this project would work.
So it's not going to go subterranean at all.
No.
And that's, and this, the proposal from Lemon Construction lays that all out, as you said, if anybody wanted to go online and look at it.
Yes, if you're to go to our e-procurement portal on the city's website, you can look right in there. It shows the thing. You can look at the full set of plans, all the bid documents, which should describe the entire project. This is all the stuff that the contractors use to bid the project.
And this $3 million is a grant that has a time.
Yes, actually, I think originally it was supposed to all be spent in February. We've begged for an extension. I think we have until August to spend the money, so we're barely gonna make it.
Thank you, City Manager. Are there any other questions? We'll open this to public comment. Anybody in the public have a comment? Seeing none. On the Zoom,
There are no comments on Zoom.
okay. We'll bring this back to council for deliberation and action.
I move that we approve the award the contract for the Burns Valley Arrowhead Olympic Drive project to Lamont Construction for the amount of $3,198,680.33, together with an additional 10% for unforeseen contract amendments.
Okay, a motion's been made by Vice Mayor Slotin. I have a second,
I'll second it.
and seconded by Councilmember Hooton. Please vote in your portal.
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
Okay, thank you. Right, we'll move on now. To item 11. Consideration of a resolution 2025-40 authorizing extension of the temporary road closure of certain roads to reduce illegal dumping and to protect the environment and public health and welfare. Mr. Flora?
Director Leba will give you the staff report.
The city council is being asked to consider extending the closure of roads to reduce illegal dumping and to protect the environment and public health and welfare. Last year in November 2024, the city council had a public hearing and authorized closure of certain roads to prevent illegal dumping and other illegal activities. Subsequent to this action, the city purchased thousands of feet of K-rail construction barrier gates and other materials to block off the area. While effective, additional work has been required to strengthen the physical barrier several times. People tend to drag the K-rails off to the side, break down the gates and such. So staff believes that the operation has been effective in controlling illegal dumping in the area and an extension is warranted. The California Vehicle Code requires a public hearing be conducted every 18 months to extend the road closure. These areas that are referred to as the Gobi Desert is a largely undeveloped area, which includes west of Acacia, north of Sonoma, east of Park, and south of East Lake. These closures shall include all or portions of Oleander, Mint, Peony, Toyon, and Oregon, as well as Burns Valley Road from Arrowhead Drive to Acacia. Staff recommends that council approve extending this temporary closure.
Thank you, Public Works Director Leba. Does council have any questions or comments for staff? Councilmember Hooton.
So I guess, my concern is for the people who own homes that are being affected by this. And I know this is stated that it's a temporary road closure and now we're looking at another year-long extension. So to me, that's a little bit long of temporary. You mentioned gates. I'd like to maybe be able to meet in the middle with property owners if they're having issues with insurance, because of these temporary road closures. If we can work somehow to maybe get rid of the K barriers in certain areas and do locks, gates with shared locks. I don't know if that's a possibility, but I know that we heard in the past that people are being affected by, their insurance is being affected by these road closures. Making changes to one-ways happens to be in the same area. So I would encourage the council and city manager to work with staff to see if we can work with property owners who are being affected by these so that they're not, they're not just discarded. Their concerns aren't going to be just discarded.
Hey, Manager Flora, you wanna address?
Well, I mean, I can address part of that. So, I mean, there's kind of two separate sections here. One is the Gobi Desert area, which there's no occupied homes within the footprint of the closures. The area of Burns Valley, or, I usually call it East Lake, but I think technically it is. So, that section, it also doesn't restrict access to any homes. I know that there have been, there's, I think, 3 property owners along the closure there at the north end that have expressed concerns. I haven't met with them directly, but I know Chief Hobbs and Chief Cepeda met with some of them about it. And, you know, I guess the insurance issues is news to me. I mean, we're happy to try to find solutions. I don't understand how this closure is impacting access to any of those properties. And, you know, gates are always a consideration. We've put, I don't know, a dozen or so of them in now, but they constantly continue to get vandalized. I think it costs us about 10 grand plus staff time to put a gate in. So, you know, this is not cheap, but the situation before the closures happened was, you know, we didn't come prepared to share any pictures of what the mayhem looked like, but this is not something that I think we want to see come back.
As I recall doing some
Cleanup there.
cleanup out there, and it was probably a dozen dump truck loads that we took out in one day of cleanup in the Covey.
I remember a barrel full of needles.
Yeah. Oh. The need was there. You have any other questions or, go ahead.
No, I mean, I do agree that I've witnessed firsthand the destruction and chaos back there. But I would like to work with our property owners and make sure that they're being heard. And if there is something that we can do to ease the burden of changing the direction they get to and from every day, then I would like to.
So you'd work with this, but with the understanding that we'd work with those that are impacted.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great,
Okay,
great compromise.
okay. Councilmember Wilson, do you have a question or anything? Comment? Councilmember Uten? No. Vice Mayor?
Nope.
All right, I will now open move to the public hearing on this. Council can't answer any questions, provide comment, while the citizen is giving their comment. So with that said, is there any public comment? I was wondering why you were here so late.
Like sometimes. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council, Becky Suledo, I'm the Conocti Superintendent. And please understand that I completely recognize that any issue like this has so many sides to it that you have to consider and look at. And my role as superintendent is obviously to take a look at things and really come at them with my blinders of student safety. And in no way would our district ever want to make any type of insurance or issues like that with any private citizens any more difficult than they already are sometimes in our area. But I did want to share, I had a long discussion with our maintenance department, and since these closures were put in, there is a tremendous difference with what we were seeing around the school. And it is a big concern for us with safety. You talked about the barrel of needles. We were seeing that a lot. We were seeing people coming in and dumping. And the backside of that is, as you all know, is very, very close to Pomo Elementary School. So that's our concern. And again, I completely understand looking broadly at all issues, but I also wanted to make sure that we at least had a voice saying that this has made a difference. So I would hope and encourage that whatever your final solution is, it doesn't go backwards, but at least continues minimally with what you've done to help protect our kids and move forward possibly with whatever else could be agreed upon. But it has had an impact around our school.
Thank you, Superintendent.
Just to make sure the council understands this section that we're referring to, largely there's two properties, one on the north and one on the south. So the north is owned by an out-of-town group that it's just trees. The piece on the south, which is adjacent to Pomo Elementary School, is owned by the school district. So at the time it was open, there was directed dumping and other activity that happened on that piece of property.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments from the public? Mr. Davis? You're becoming a regular up here.
Hello, Jeff Davis, not Highlands Water Company, just one of the people that live on that section of East Lake or whatever. And I truly appreciate Councilman Hooten's comments and saying, well, maybe a gate, maybe something like that. I do appreciate the chief and the fire chief as well meeting and taking the time to meet with us and discuss it and how it's affecting our potential egress in the event of a fire, which likely burns from west to east. And it kind of does pinch you a little bit, and closes that off. And there was discussion of potentially, it didn't materialize it. And again, I'm not saying anything other than thank you guys. There's a lot of money standing there having a discussion on the side of the road with a couple of people complaining. I get that. But there was discussion of a possibility of a 30-day opening and a trial period and a promise that, look, if somebody dumps on there, we're gonna be the first ones down here saying, hey, they're dumping, close the gate, whatever. It does impact from a ingress and egress. Now, admittedly, the one-way thing by the school is a little bit of a hassle, but I get it, it's a school. And if there was a fire, well, we're gonna go the wrong way on a one-way street. Hopefully you guys don't give me a ticket, but we're leaving that way. And so to make a long story short, I do appreciate the dumping problems. I think maybe you guys have stalked me, you know where I live now. And the house right below it, which was my mother's, I grew up there. I've been in this Gobi, if you will, outskirts of the Gobi for quite some time. And I've seen the nightmares that you guys have seen and are describing and the hassle and cleanup and everything else. So I'm no stranger to that. It's a problem. But I don't know if that particular section saw the nightmare that you saw up off of Mint and that area. That was pretty grim up there. There was dumping back there. There may have been needles. I truly appreciate Becky Solano. I do appreciate her concern over I was gonna say bums, but maybe that's not real politically correct, but the type of people that are dumping in the needles and everything else back there in that proximity to the school. I understand that too. So my concerns are really maybe a little self-serving. From a financial standpoint, the insurance is very high. And jumped because of that. My wife can attest to that. Should someone need to. And the ingress and egress in the event of a fire. Yes, the neighbor says they have a forklift and they go down there and move the thing. That's a little sketchy in the event of a fire, to get the forklift to run. So really,
That's your 3 minutes, but I'll let you go.
Okay.
On for a minute.
Well, you know, it's hard for me to do 3 minutes.
I do know that.
Anyway, I would appreciate any possible consideration or any compromise in a gate or something else that the council will be willing to consider. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Are there any other comments from the public? Okay. Are there any comments on Zoom?
There are no comments on Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any comments from council before we start deliberation? I close the public hearing. Go for it.
Where to begin? So I think Councilmember Hooten made a good point. These are supposed to be a temporary situation. So how do you make something temporary into a resolution that works for everyone? So I think passing this tonight would be in the hopes of figuring out what would work permanently for all the residents, and so that's kind of like my thought on that. So I think Hooten's on the right track, path to, try to figure out something that can work for everyone. And, it seems like what's in place right now is working, keeping all the transients out and the trash and stuff. But long-term, like, how does that look for our residents? So we need to make sure that they're, this isn't a complete permanent thing. We got to look for what works, but permanent.
If you permanently want to close a public street, you have to abandon the street and all that, and that takes a whole lot of process. Is that correct?
Right, well, I mean, the process really isn't that elaborate, actually, but I mean, the long-term plan, I mean, really, the only way to solve this type of activity, in my opinion, is to, like the main Gobi area, I mean, we get it developed with some houses out there. If there's some houses out there, there's not gonna be as much of this, but we have so many of these undeveloped areas in the city with these kind of paper lots and nothing out there, and it's very attractive for folks who wanna undertake illegal activities. So we need to get, a few more houses built. And we've tried over the years. I mean, the city actually owns a number of lots out there. We've tried to get people to, give them away or whatever to build a house and get some stuff going on. But that's really the long-term solution. But, I would say, I mean, I would encourage you to go ahead and adopt this again. I mean, Mr. Davis and I already have a meeting on the books for tomorrow morning to talk about some Highlands water business. Perhaps we could spare a little time to talk about this issue and see if we can come up with any ideas.
Sounds like.
Councilmember.
Yeah, I would appreciate that. Yeah, because I think, bouncing back to what Tara said, this is working, so we should figure out a way to make more temporary convenient arrangements so that it can continue to work.
So continuing, it on, voting for the resolution, but with the edict that we look for ways to work with the folks that live out there.
Mhm.
They live.
Make
a closure permit? Councilmember Wilson, did you have a comment? It looked like you were reaching for some. Okay. Okay. All righty. Well, I think, now close the public hearings and take a motion on this item.
I move that we approve resolution 2025-40, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Clear Lake authorizing the extension of the temporary closure of certain streets to reduce illegal dumping and protect the environment and the public health and welfare, with the caveat that our city manager will meet with any interested property owners to come out with some kind of solution that access is not being curtailed for their property.
Second is, or a motion has been made by Councilmember or Vice Mayor Slotin, Councilmember Wilson.
No, I'll second it.
Councilmember Wilson is seconded. Please vote in your portal. You fine for that?
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, now I guess return to business. Item 12. This is the annual calendar of meetings for 2026. And we'll review those.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, if I could briefly, and council members, the city clerk prepared this. Normally it's just on consent, but I know there's always some kind of questions about when we're having meetings and whatnot. So I thought it might be good to just spend the extra minute looking at next year's calendar and see if there's anything you would like us to adjust. So, basically it's the standard first and third. January only has one meeting because the first Thursday is actually New Year's Day. I believe a similar situation on July 4th. So there would be one regular meeting in July. And otherwise, I think it's business as usual. And this year, sometimes we would have conflicts on the week of the League of Cities conference, but that is not the case in 2026. So.
Any questions?
Didn't I just sign up for a training on
That goes the 19th through the.
It was in January. I don't remember the exact
It's,
date.
It's in February.
I think it maybe is the following week. Do you want me to look?
Which one, the training for the Cal City?
Hmm.
No, that's, the 20th,
I thought it was the
21st to the 23rd
Of January.
Oh, so I don't,
January.
So it's the week after the meeting on the 15th.
Yeah.
no, it's I thought it was February.
No, it's
Oh,
January.
it's January.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions from council? Seeing none, I'll open up to public comment. No public comments, seeing none, I will go, is there anything on Zoom?
There are no comments on Zoom.
All right, we'll go to deliberation and call for action. Councilmember Wilson? You have your,
You want me to motion, you want a motion?
I do.
Okay.
Want to get it if you want to.
I move to approve the annual calendar of meetings for 2026.
Motion's been made by Councilmember Downey
I'll second it.
and seconded by Councilmember Hooton. Please vote in your portal.
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Well, that's finishes business items, and I'll go to city manager and council member reports. City Manager Flora.
Yeah, Mayor Kramer, Councilmember, just a few items. You had asked for our strategic plan update to be brought back. It's taken a little bit longer than I would have liked, but last Friday, we had our leadership team meeting, went through identifying a number of tasks specific to the goals that were established by the city council. So it looks like we should be able to bring that back at the December meeting. We'll have that as a business item, and hopefully I can get it out. I'll go ahead and email it out to you, hopefully tomorrow, so you have a little bit of extra time to look through it, but I wanted to give you an update on that. We just received a meeting request from the consultant we hired to do the lighting deficiency analysis, the street lighting work. They finally got that completed, it sounds like, so hopefully we'll be meeting with them here next week or so to go over that, and then we'll be, coming back with some actions for the council related to street lighting. I went to the Board of Supervisors meeting this week. They were proposing to adopt what they call a low value ordinance. So any properties that are valued less than $5,000 would be taken completely off of the property tax roll. The concern that some of the county departments have, that it actually takes a fair amount of work and staff time and money to meet the obligations that the state has on performing a tax auction, which is, a real concern. But and they claim that the value that they receive in property tax from those is significantly less than the amount it takes for them to try to sell. They have a high delinquency rate because a lot of these have no utilities and stuff. So there's over 10,000 of these kind of paper lots on the North Shore. We have, well, I didn't bring my numbers that I presented to the board with me, but I think we have something like 1,500 vacant lots in the city. About half of those are valued at less than $10,000. And so the concern being that if they're taken completely off the tax roll, that property owner then no longer has any incentive to do maintenance or anything on the property. And so we feel like it would really derail our code enforcement efforts because, we have a very high percentage of these properties are also owned by people out of town. And so the guy in San Jose who inherited a lot from his grandparents has never been up here. You know, we've been able to get some compliance for vegetation and stuff like that on these, but we would expect that to completely halt. So it's very concerning. The board fortunately did somewhat respond to the concerns I raised, and they agreed to give Supervisor Sabatier until the middle of January to work with us and some other folks at the county to see if we can find some sort of hybrid solution that might address our concerns and still alleviate some of the cost concerns that they have. So if we do come up with an idea, it's likely going to need, you know, some direction from the council. So it's probably most likely in January, but perhaps one of the December meetings we'll be talking more about it. So I'm waiting on Supervisor Sabatier to set up a meeting. Then the last thing, went out in the last day or so on social media from the police department. They've are reinvigorating the Clear Lake Explorer program, which is you know, getting kids involved with the police department. It's been successful over the years. Now that we have 2 school resource officers, they're really kind of taking the lead on helping put this together. But Chief Hobbs was telling me this afternoon that even in a day or so, it's received more shares and interaction on Facebook than any post we've had in at least 2 years. And a number of other officers have came forward wanting to get involved. So we'll be highlighting it a little bit more in our next newsletter, but I'm excited that Chief and his staff have been able to get this going. That's my report.
I just had one other question. It was announced on the Clear Lake News, the Latino. Could you maybe just give us a little advisory?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've kind of mentioned it briefly in some other reports, but I brought together a group right now of 5 Latinos that have some involvement in the community. They're not all residents of Clear Lake, but are involved in some of the Latino organizations or other things, and I feel like have good perspective, you know. So I'm told that over 60% of the population of Canocti School District is now Latino. You know, the citywide numbers don't show that in the census, but it's probably higher than what's really reflected in there anyway. But without a doubt, it's a very large segment of our population. It's probably the only segment that's continuing to grow. And it just, the realization came that what we're doing to engage the Latino community, like, I mean, we've had our agendas in Spanish and stuff for a few years, but it's not really breaking into sort of the culture of the Latino community. And so we've been meeting every 2 weeks, just talking about ideas on how to engage the community, whether it's events or understanding that they need a business license or how to help them through some of these processes. It's actually one of the most fun things that I'm doing right now, and it's cool that the people that are working on this are also very excited about bringing some awareness and some engagement with the community. So there was an overview. We had a profile of a couple of the folks, Carlos and Roman, that are involved in the group. So over the next few newsletters, there'll be some highlights on the other folks. But we have Veronica Gonzalez, who's a dental hygienist at Tribal Health, Denise Herrera, who's the owner of La Chilanguita here in town, and Zabdi Neria, who I'm sure all of you know, who's the president of Canocti School Board, as well as a mental health clinician for the Office of Education.
I applaud you on that. I think was a great idea. I'm really in support of it. Our population of Latinos in this city may not be 60%, but I'll bet it's better than 30 anyway. Thank you. Councilmember Hooten.
I have nothing to report.
Councilmember Wilson.
I attended the clean water management meeting today, although I'm not sure why, because there's nobody really assigned to that committee, but I got invited, so I went. They did a summary of their groundwater resource plan, which is required by state bill 985. And it allows the county to actually apply for federal and state funding in regards to stormwater and watershed. They also announced that their adopted drain program has been very successful. And I'm trying to get to know more about the stormwater plans, but you have to assign somebody to the committee, and then maybe I'm not going anymore, so.
Well, I think that you probably should. We'll leave that up to the next mayor to
Okay.
take care of that. But that was a great report. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Councilmember Downey.
So on November 8th, I attended Shop with a Cop fundraiser at Canocti Harbor. It was a great event. This year, they're gonna support 240 children, and 240 of those kids will get $250 to shop at Walmart on December 17th. So it was a great turnout. Mr. Flora, saw him there. I also think I spent more money than him, but yeah, and another thing too, I attended an AVA meeting yesterday. I don't have much to report from that. Service was kind of bad, so I was getting kicked out and I had to go back in, and so, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Vice Mayor Slotin.
I attended the Community Engagement and Economic Development.
Can you turn your mic on?
I attended the Community Engagement and Economic Development Conference at Lakeport on the 6th and 7th of November. A lot of new input. They did say that the county population is going to decline. That might be overall, but I think in the city of Clear Lake, that's certainly not the case. I attended the APC meeting on November 12th and don't remember much about it, to be honest. I attended the Adventist fundraiser with dueling pianos on the 13th. I had another event on the 16th where some of the local representatives were attending, including our Congressman Thompson, our Senator McGuire. Then I also attended yesterday, the LAFCO meeting, which was held in Lakeport, where we're going on track to have an MSR for together the fire departments and the water departments to see how they interact better. And then they also have actually starting a MSR on sanitary district that serves our city here. So we have a couple of things going with the sanitary district. That's it.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I attended the APC LTA meeting with Vice Mayor Slotin. Not so much in the APC part of it, but the LTA, they talked about bus usage has actually declined this year a little bit. Trying to, I think, figure out why, but they're still getting plenty of income, so I don't think it's going to impact service, other than they may look at some of the routes and modify them somewhat. Also attended the RRA meeting earlier, and I think it came out of that mostly is it RRA, Lake County Risk Reduction Authority, in concert with the Lake County Resource Conservation District, has through some grants has developed, they're calling an entity action plan. This plan, as far as it's not been released yet, as far as I can see on it, it incorporates elements of plans in several other entities, from ACP, our fire departments, CWPP, the evacuation routes. It's got a kind of a little bit of everything in that. My takeaway from all of this is that we've got too many silos that are putting out their own versions of the same things. A little frustrated with that. That's all my report. So we'll move on to future agenda items,
I have one.
right?
It's easy. It's easy. It's easy. It's easy. Since nobody really knows what LAFCO really does, I will ask Larkin if she can make the presentation, see how the presentation at our last Rotary Club meeting. And I think it's good to kind of show what LAFCO really does and what it really should be doing. So,
Yeah, I like that.
That's it.
Does everybody like that? Well, we need to have a voice vote. No. No, we don't?
No. No.
Okay, just a consensus then?
Yeah.
All right. The consensus is we all like that. Would like to see that as a future agenda item.
as a presentation, I think that would be cool.
Okay, well, that pretty much closes our business. Thank you, everyone who took the time to submit your comments here via Zoom, and to those who are watching our meeting on YouTube and here in the council chambers. Now adjourn this meeting to closed session at 7:50.